Hey fam, what's going on? It's Aces High, and today I'm bringing you guys something that's really exciting to me. So it's going to be a six-part video by Epic History TV on the Napoleonic Wars. So recently I posted some videos about the French Revolution, about Napoleon, but I was told by, I can't even count how many subscribers and how many viewers, that this is the video I need to watch, that this is an amazing one, and they all want to see it. Now, before we get into it, just a few things. First off, if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell, because I do come out with videos daily, and you don't want to miss them. Other than that, I really want you guys to understand that I respect people's videos on YouTube, and it's an art, and I really do love what they do. So everybody, before I use their video, I reach out to them and I ask permission to use their video. Most of the time they say yes, sometimes they say no, and I have to move on. That being said, Epic History TV did say that I could use their video. They just wanted it to be a little bit smaller. So I went ahead and I shrunk it down and made a new format. I hope you guys don't mind it. But I'll go ahead and shut up and let's get started with part 1 of the Napoleonic Wars.
Supported by our sponsor, Osprey Publishing. In December 1804, in the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, Napoleon Bonaparte crowned himself Emperor of the French. Europe had never seen such a sudden and dramatic rise to power. A son of impoverished Corsican nobility to military dictator of France in little more than 10 years. Revolution...
Whoa, hold on. 10 years? It was about 10 years for all that? That's incredible. I'm almost 30 years old. That's like a third of my life. Oh my god.
And war had cleared Napoleon's path to the throne. War would dominate his 10-year reign. A conflict unprecedented in history that would leave millions dead and a continent in turmoil. Eight months after Napoleon's coronation, the French Empire and its Spanish ally were at war with Britain, and Napoleon had assembled an army of 180,000 men along the Channel coast. But as long as the British Royal Navy ruled the seas, invasion was impossible.
Makes
But
sense.
nor could Britain challenge France on land. And so British Prime Minister William Pitt tried to build a European coalition against Napoleon, using diplomacy and gold. Britain would prove Napoleon's most steadfast enemy, and its press delighted in relentless mockery of the French Emperor. Britain and France were old rivals in Europe and overseas. But now, Pitt feared Napoleon's conquests had made France too powerful. The French Emperor had to be defeated, and Europe's balance of power restored if there was ever to be lasting peace. Pitt found willing allies in Europe, among monarchs who despised Napoleon as a product of the French Revolution and a dangerous threat to the existing order. Austria harboured the deepest grievances, having seen her influence in Germany and Italy steadily eroded by French victories.
I've got a question here. Based off this map, I mean, mid-1800s, Germany was pretty close to what Germany would be today, right? I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just asking people that know a little bit more about European history than I do. There were no real separated states at that point, right? I mean, they were the states, like Bavaria, you know, things like that. But they were all part of what would be established as a Germany, I guess. Yeah, if you could let me know down in the comments, that would be absolutely awesome. And just one thing too, I know that Great Britain's navy is incredible, so it makes sense they wouldn't want to take them out on the water.
The final straw came in May 1805. When Napoleon had also crowned himself King of Italy in Milan.
No way.
Austria, Russia, Sweden and Naples joined Britain in an alliance known as the Third Coalition, and devised an ambitious plan for a series of joint offensives against France. The main attack would be made by a combined Austro-Russian army, advancing across the Rhine into France. But Napoleon got word of their plans, and reacted with typical speed and decision. He was determined.
See, one thing I do know about Napoleon is he was an incredible battle strategist. So if he got word of it, if I were any of these people, I would be scared. Just straight up.
To strike first, before the Allies could join forces, and ordered his army, now renamed La Grande Armée, to march to the River Rhine. His target was the Austrian army of General Mack, which had made a premature advance against Bavaria, a French ally, and was now dangerously isolated from the other Allied armies. Napoleon ordered Marshal Murat, his famously flamboyant cavalry commander, to make feint attacks through the Black Forest, while the rest of his army, advancing at speed, enveloped Mack's army from the north. That summer, Napoleon's Grande Armée was at its most formidable.
One other thing I know about Napoleon is everybody always said, the little emperor, all that, how short he was. But I've recently learned that was actually, they said he was, 5'2", but that was 5'2" in French inches, I guess, which were different than imperial inches. And he was actually closer to like 5'6", 5'7", which was average at the time. So it always confuses me when I see pictures like this. I mean, if he's average, this guy had to be 5'11". This guy is like 6'2". That's a giant for back then, right? So, I mean, this always makes me second guess it, I guess.
Well trained, highly motivated, its regiments at full strength. What's more, it had been newly reorganized according to the corps system, later imitated by virtually every army in the world. Each corps, commanded by a marshal, was a mini-army of 15,000 to 30,000 soldiers, with its own infantry, cavalry, artillery, and supporting arms, such as reconnaissance, engineers, and transport. This meant each corps could march and fight for a limited time independently.
Oh my God, I never knew that. Napoleon was, tell me in the comments if I'm hearing this right. Napoleon was the first one to set up the corps system. We use that in modern day military still. It's used all over the world, like they just said. It's incredible. You can move faster. You don't need supply trucks. Like, there's all kinds of stuff. It's incredible. Wow. I never knew that. That's crazy. That's what set him aside. That's what made him so incredible.
Allowing Napoleon to break with the old doctrine of keeping his army concentrated and advance with his corps widely dispersed. This helped to disguise his real objective and increased movement speed, because the army could advance along multiple roads and live off the land, taking its supplies from scattered villages, rather than relying on slow-moving supply wagons. When the enemy's main force was located, the army could quickly concentrate for battle. This is how Napoleon's army was able to move at a speed that often surprised and disorientated his enemies. Mack didn't realize the danger he was in until it was too late. Napoleon's fast-moving corps crossed the Danube behind him and surrounded his army. Mack launched a series of poorly coordinated counterattacks, but despite some desperate fighting, the Austrians couldn't break out of the trap.
Wow.
Mack hoped that Kutuzov's Russian army could arrive in time to save him, but the Russians were still 160 miles away. And so, at Ulm, on the 19th of October, just 6 weeks into the war, Mack surrendered his army to Napoleon. The French took nearly 60,000 Austrian prisoners, and Napoleon had struck his first devastating blow against the coalition.
I've got a question for those of you that know a lot about history in this time period. What happened to prisoners at this time? Were they killed? Were they put into labor camps? Were they imprisoned? What happened to them? Let me know in the comments.
Russian General Mikhail Kutuzov was an experienced and wary commander, more cautious than Mack. His army was exhausted after its 900-mile march from Russia, but hearing of the Austrians' surrender at Ulm, and knowing he wasn't strong enough to face Napoleon alone, he immediately ordered a retreat. Napoleon pursued. The Russians fought several sharp rearguard actions, but could not save the Austrian capital, Vienna, which the French occupied on the 12th of November. Kutuzov slipped away to Olmütz in today's Czech Republic, where he was joined by reinforcements, as well as Emperor Alexander of Russia and Emperor Francis of Austria in person.
Was that Alexander the First? Which Alexander was that, I wonder?
Napoleon was furious that Kutuzov had escaped. By now his army was also exhausted, and far from home, with winter approaching. He needed to force a decisive battle quickly. Fortunately for him, the overconfident 27-year-old Russian emperor sought the glory of battle, overriding the concerns of his veteran commander, General Kutuzov.
That's not a good move. It's scary on both parts, because you want to listen to your veteran commanders, let's be real, especially if you're some 26-year-old punk kid. You know, I mean, just, you don't have the experience. Listen to people that are experienced. It's, at least listen to them. You don't have to do what they say, just at least take their advice to heart, you know? And on the opposite side of it, if Napoleon's trying to advance into Russia in winter, that's a little scary, because we've seen how that worked plenty of times.
With the Allied army closing in, Napoleon ordered his corps to rapidly concentrate on a battlefield he had carefully selected, near the town of Austerlitz.
Okay.
Napoleon oversaw the dispositions of his army late into the night, then grabbed a few hours' sleep beside a campfire. Dawn would mark the first anniversary of his coronation as emperor, and promised a battle that would make or break his young empire.
Could you imagine crowning yourself emperor, and then a year later, on the anniversary, you're getting ready to go into such a crazy big battle? I couldn't even imagine it.
The morning of the 2nd of December 1805 was cold and bright with a heavy mist. Two armies of near equal size faced each other across a 7-mile wide battlefield. But the Allies held the high ground of the Pratzen Heights, while French Third Corps under Marshal Davout was still marching to the battlefield. Seeing Napoleon's thinly stretched right flank, the Allies planned a large-scale attack from the Pratzen Heights to steamroller the French right, before
smart.
swinging round to envelop Napoleon's army.
Very smart. I like that.
Little did they know, Napoleon was counting on his weak right wing luring the Allies into just such a move, whereupon he would launch his own attack on the Pratzen Heights to cut the Allied army in half.
He's a strategic
his bold plan
genius.
relied on his correct prediction of Allied movements, the speedy arrival of Davout's Third Corps on his right, and a perfectly timed counterattack. The battle began around 7 a.m. as Austrian troops of General Kienmayer's advance guard clashed with French troops defending the village of Telnitz. In the face of overwhelming odds, the French fought stubbornly and bravely, but gradually they were forced back. But the Allies, instead of carrying out their great enveloping attack, did nothing. The morning mist and the late arrival of orders had led to confusion and delay, and it was another hour before the first 3 Allied columns were on the move. Soon, fierce fighting erupted around Sokolnitz village and castle. Marshal Davout's corps, which had just force-marched 70 miles in 2 days, now arrived to strengthen the French right wing. Did
he just say they force-marched 70 miles in 2 days? That's 35 miles a day. That's 70 miles is something like 116 or so kilometers. I think it's about 116. Let me know if I'm wrong. I think that's pretty close. That's incredible. Yeah, 116.5, I think. Jesus Christ, dude. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah. That's a long way. That's fast, man. And then they got to go into battle? Oh my God.
At 9 a.m., his lead infantry brigade appeared suddenly through the mist and retook Telnitz, before being driven back in turn by Austrian hussars. 2 more of Davout's brigades reinforced French troops at Sokolnitz. As the mist began to clear, Napoleon saw that, as he'd hoped, the Allied left was moving off the Pratzen Heights, and he ordered Marshal Soult's 4th Corps to begin its attack.
Okay.
To the alarm of Allied commanders, 2 French infantry divisions, until now hidden by the mist, were suddenly seen advancing straight towards the Allied centre.
Wow.
General Kutuzov was forced to hurriedly organize a defense of the heights, using troops of 4 column. 2 hours of bloody fighting followed. Musket fire was so rapid and furious that both sides were soon low on ammunition and turned to the bayonet. By 11 a.m., the French, with the advantage in training and discipline, had secured the heights and driven a deep wedge into the Allied position. To the north, a giant cavalry battle developed. While a Russian force from General Bagration's advance guard captured the village of Bosenitz before it was halted by cannon fire from the Santon Hill. A decisive charge by 6 regiments of French heavy cavalry finally drove back the Allies, allowing Marshal Lannes' 5 Corps to move forward and seize Blasowitz and Krug. Now, Grand Duke Constantine, commanding the Russian Imperial Guard, led forward this last Allied reserve in a desperate bid to reclaim the Pratzen Heights. A battalion of the French 4th Line Regiment was charged down by Russian Guard cavalry, losing its Eagle standard in bloody fighting. Napoleon, who'd moved up to the heights, sent in his own Guard cavalry.
Interesting.
In this grim melee between the elite horsemen of both armies, the French finally prevailed.
I've got a question. Do you guys think that the French elite, the Imperial Guard, won in this fight because they were better? Or because of maybe height advantage? I guess it's kind of a hill over here. It's probably a pretty flat fighting ground. Plus they're on horses. Or do you think it's just that the Austrian army, they had already been fighting. They were more tired. You know? Let me know what you guys think in the comments.
Napoleon had broken the Allied centre. Now, to close the trap on the Allied left wing, still locked in heavy fighting around Sokolnitz. Around 2 p.m, Napoleon ordered 4 divisions to swing south and cut off their retreat. General Buxhowden, commanding the Allied left, only now saw the danger he was in.
This guy had troops on both sides of him and he just now saw the problem? Jesus. I guess when you're at war it's distracting, but wow.
From 3 sides, the only escape was south. Many of his troops were forced to flee across frozen ponds. French artillery opened fire, trying to smash the ice with their cannonballs. About 200
Smart.
men and dozens of horses drowned in the freezing water.
Oh, wow.
But not the many thousands of Napoleon's propaganda. The French Emperor had won a brilliant victory. His army had taken more than 10,000 prisoners and captured 45 enemy standards. Thousands of dead and wounded of all sides littered the battlefield. Many left untended for days. The Battle of the Three Emperors, as it became known, was a crushing blow to the Third Coalition. As Russian forces retreated back to Russia, Francis I of Austria was forced to accept a humiliating settlement with France, agreeing to pay a 40 million franc indemnity and give up more territory in exchange for peace. But meanwhile, news had reached Napoleon of a disastrous Franco-Spanish defeat at sea off Cape Trafalgar. British Admiral Lord Nelson, at the cost of his own life, had masterminded a victory so complete that it ensured British naval dominance not just for the rest of the war, but for the next 100 years.
Yeah, that's incredible, because everybody knows the British had, the best navy. They had an incredible navy for a very long time.
Britain, master of the sea.
Yep.
Napoleon, unbeatable on land.
True.
The whale and the elephant, neither able to challenge the other in its own domain. When William Pitt received news of Napoleon's victory at Austerlitz, he's supposed to have said, "Roll up that map of Europe. It will not be wanted these 10 years.
Wow.
A month later, Pitt was dead. But his warning that Europe faced another 10 years of war and upheaval was to prove prophetic.
Oh, looks like a little bit of next week or tomorrow's episode. Anyway, what'd you guys think? So first off, I gotta thank you all again. Everybody who recommended this to me. It's incredible. It's just such a high quality video. Epic History TV. You make fantastic videos. Now that that's all done, dude, Napoleon is just incredible. Strategic, just great military leader. And on top of all that, he also knew things like if you build up propaganda, positive propaganda, or you send it back home, like instead of 200 soldiers drowning in the river, you say thousands died. It will generate support back home because it looks like you're destroying people. And if that ever gets over to Russia and places like that, it actually hurts their morale. So it's just very, very cool to watch him do these type of things. And it's just so interesting. I hope you guys liked it. I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. We still have 5 more parts to watch. But yeah, till next time, this is Aces High. Love y'all, and I'm out.